Good morning, everyone. This is Charlotte, and this is a podcast called Chatting in Cars. It's where I talk about random topics at length and on tangents whilst driving to work, swearing at people. 7:17 on a Wednesday, Odin's Day, if you're into it. There is a disclaimer at the start of the podcast. I do swear and I do talk about sensitive topics, and I do intermesh my topics as well, so it might start on one and end up on another. I do tend to also repeat the same sort of references, so you'll find me talking a lot about relationships and shit. So if you don't want to hear the same old boring shit, absolutely change the podcast. But these are my life experiences, so this is what I'm relating to. You don't have to listen. That's cool. Go and find something else, right? The topic for today is discipline, and there are several forms of discipline I'm familiar with. First of all, parental discipline. I've got classroom discipline I have to do, which is pretty much a weaker version of what I'm used to. And then personal discipline, which is like self-control, and talking about things like when you go to the gym or when you avoid shit that's bad for you. All of which we'll be discussing. I'm going to probably start on the lighter note, which is the classroom discipline, because once you go into my family history, it's a bit fucked up. So, classroom discipline. I'm finding that it's very irritating towards the end of the year to have to discipline kids because they're ready to go, man. It's fucking Christmas time coming up. They just want to go to the beach and stuff. In Australia, we go to the beach. I wish we had snow and stuff, but everyone's like, it's 40-degree heat minimum. At the moment today, it's muggy as well, so the kids are like, fuck this, because the mugginess drops your energy. And I find like it's harder to keep them on track and keep them awake and keep them wanting to do the right thing. The incentive is gone. They've checked out. We've checked out as teachers, so it's a bit tricky. You'll find them going off the rails a bit. I had one of my kids called Dane yesterday, who I've known since he was like fucking 7, and now he's in year 6, so he's 12. But he was just losing his shit yesterday, and I think it was the mugginess and the heat, and generally just everything winding down, and it just shocked me, to be honest. I mean, you're trying to use the whole method of, okay, that's 1 warning, that's 2, that's 3, that's timeout, that's, 1, 2, 3, buddy class, 1, 2, 3, office, right? That's our system, generally, in the schools we're using right now. We give them a lot of fucking chances to calm the fuck down and do the right thing. And then we say things like, oh, we're using good choices here, we're using green choices, we're using red choices, It's very holistic, I find, very soft approach to kids, because they're not kids. You can't just, do what my mum did and just beat the shit out of them. Although some days, corporal punishment is not a downer, right? Some of these kids get a little bit too confident in their safety zone and they just need a fucking good smack, I think. I don't know. They get cocky and you're sitting there thinking, you would not have survived my parents, man. I mean, we're all thinking that. Is it just my generation or the previous generation as well thinking this? It's like, how are you getting away with this and you're not dead? I don't know. Maybe they get it worse at home. I do tend to work at like schools that are low SES anyway, so they are coming from trauma. I can give them that. They're coming from either neglectful parents who just don't give a fuck about them, or parents that are over violent with their kids, just like my parents were, and are abusive, and they've got past the point where they just don't fucking care anymore, and they'll just take the abuse. They don't care. It's usual, it's normal at this point for them. So, you've got to be careful with your discipline. They just don't register that what the positive discipline, positive reinforcement we're using in the classrooms, instead of negative reinforcement. Negative reinforcement is where you beat the shit out of someone. Positive reinforcement is where you give them stuff for doing the right thing. Incentivization. Stickers and chocolate and shit. Worked for me when I was a kid. I was like, we're getting food? Awesome. One of my favorite teachers was Mr. Murdoch. There's this mustachioed, mulleted blonde guy. He was awesome. It's like we had terrific Tuesdays and fantastic Fridays where, like, if we were good, and I was always good because my parents would have kicked the shit out of me if I wasn't. We got a Mars bar, like a little mini Mars bar or some shit. It was awesome. I'm like, dude, I'm just hanging out for the Tuesday and Thursday just to get chocolate. And coming from a household where stuff like that just wasn't available, you'd lose your mind. I felt like fucking Charlie Bucket the day, I got a chocolate bar. Oh my god. I'm gonna go dance in the street and sing a song about it, yeah? No, we just didn't really. My parents weren't one for buying copious amounts of junk food and stuff like that because we just couldn't afford it. There was 4 of us kids and no fucking money, and my dad's a Peter Pan syndrome, so there just wasn't any money. Any treats like that usually came through the school. Things like excursions and stuff. If they were free, we got to go. If they were paid for, we had to, you know, pick and choose. And my parents weren't into it, really. So we missed out on a lot of excursions and stuff. Didn't go on, like, school camp and stuff like that. So, you know. But my parents claimed it was safety issues. I'm like, yeah, right, it's money issues. You can at least be truthful. Safety issues. Yeah, anyway. That might go hand in hand with my mum constantly telling us we're surrounded by pedophiles. I don't know. You can't leave the house, there's pedophiles out there. It's like, yeah, but probably not in, you know, a density that you're telling me. You know, probably not all of them, right? But no, she was fully, yeah. It was a control mechanism. It was control. Anyway, so classroom discipline is a bit trickier because you got to get them on side and you got to be able to relate to them as well in a way that they're not going to look at you like you're faking it, or, you know, or you're just too slack. I find these days I'm getting too slack with them. I'll just let them get away with murder. So it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. But then I got like another teacher come in and they're looking at me like, you fucking crazy. I'm like, well, technically yes. But it's the end of term and I don't give a fuck at this point. So I'm gonna let them run riot. Let them go, man. They're kids. Let them be kids. I love that they're kids still, because once you get to being an adult, you get fucked over from every angle. Let them be kids. I mean, they're a bit dickish in the way they do it, especially year sixes, because they're big guys now. They're big kids. It's not what I remember the year sixes being at the start of my job. These guys are like adult size. They tower over me. I'm 5'4" and I'm wearing heels to make myself maybe 5'6". But he's fucking huge. I had that Dane kid was like 5'8", he told me, and he said his dad's like 6'4", and I'm going, what the fuck are you feeding these kids? How am I supposed to discipline someone that's bigger than me? Oh my god. And I can't as well, because I'm soft as shit when it comes to kids. I'm so slack. I let them run over. I don't care. It's like, I'm just happy that they're happy now. Like my niece the other day, she's like 3. We were whacking each other with pillows, because yeah, that's what you do with a 3-year-old. Essentially, you just whack them off the couch with a pillow and hopefully they don't die or cry. So, but she was whacking me back because she's a vicious little fucker. And she was also, in between whacks, she was like literally spitting in my face. I'm like, you little shit, come here. I'll spit back, you little turd. But yeah, it was fine. If my sister-in-law had walked in at that time, she would have lost her shit. She's like, don't let her do that. And she's got like this thick German accent. She's like, don't let the children do that. And I'm like, oh, fuck off, woman. You gotta give them some leniency, man. They're kids. Let them be kids. I led my other nieces astray a bit, I'm afraid. I'm like the worst aunt. Yeah, my sister had started raising them as dainty little ladies. I took them out in the garden and showed them how to be men. You know, they were not very. They're rough as fuck now. It's great because you can get them to do damn near anything that's like covered in mud and like they do quad bikes and dirt bikes and shit now because it's pretty cool. But my sister was raising, especially her firstborn, to be this dainty little princess ballerina thing. The second one came out batshit crazy, and I love that one, I think, the most. Blonde hair, blonde curly hair, big blue eyes, looks like a cherub, but she's fucking crazy. It's great. The first one came out emotional and fragile. The second one came out like she was willing to knife fight someone. It was brilliant. Oh my god, such a contrast. My sister was shocked. This one, my 3-year-old niece, is at the moment she's still a bit, fragile. She's still finding her way. I have a strong feeling she's autistic, but like not noticeably. You get like high functional and low functional. I'm high functional, but I think, she's a bit standoffish and is hesitant to do anything. But then again, given the parenting style my sister-in-law is doing at the moment, she's very hands-off kind of thing, kind of encouraging independence. I just don't think she's got the maternal streak, dude. My brother's more maternal than she is. It's an interesting dynamic. Anyway, disciplining kids can be tricky. Plus, you've got to acknowledge that they're all individuals. They've got their own learning styles, and they're all temperaments, and you know, you gotta. It's basically acknowledging them as adults as well, because everybody's different as an adult. We've all come from different walks of life. So when it comes to disciplining them, or you know, trying to enforce some kind of set of behaviors and stuff that's deemed appropriate, and I don't say you need to discipline people to control them in a negative way. If we're disciplining, it should be to, dare I say it, control them in a positive way. You want them to learn things that are useful to them, and that can promote life in them and quality of life as well. You know, you don't want to tell them they have to do something just because you said, or just because, you know, these are the rules, because they'll be questioning why the rules. What are the rules? It's weird. I don't understand why some people just say this is how it is and so it is. It's like, I always try and give an explanation, because if anyone did that to me, I'd be pissed off. It's like, this is what we're doing and this is it. But I was raised that way. My parents were very authoritarian. Not authoritative, authoritarian. They were very much ruled with an iron fist sort of thing, controlled, you will do this. And my mum was the main enforcer. My dad was just a berserker. My mum was a berserker, but in a different way, a physical way. My dad was a physical boy. Yeah, anyway, listen to the other podcasts anyway. But I want to give them an explanation, and I want to reason out with them why I think they should do this. I mean, I do get pissy when they still go, you know what, I don't feel like it. And they kick back at you, especially with attitude. I'm like, you little shit. I'm trying to help you. But at the same time, you know, you got to understand where they're coming from. They don't know any better. And when they actually, you know, fail or fuck up or something like that, maybe that will help them understand why I told them to do these things. So sometimes you just got to let people just drop, and they'll figure it out for themselves, which is horrible, really, because you don't want to. You want to help them and support them and look after them, stuff like that, especially if you care about them, especially if you love them, right? But sometimes some fuckers just got to drop. And that comes from, you know, self-protection as well. And you're teaching them discipline through, you know, getting them to handle themselves. You can't do everything for someone. Discipline in itself has to be learnt from your viewpoint. You have to learn it yourself. You can't have someone tell you what to do and expect it to just occur. If you are, like if it's in an army, maybe, even though you're shown what you need to do and it's sort of drilled into you, you still have to be receptive to these instructions. If you kick against them, you're not going to pick it up, are you? So I suppose that's one way to do it. You can't force someone, unless you're using fear. But even then, that just breeds insurgency. So eventually, that's just delayed kickback. It's going to happen eventually. It's inevitable. Moving on to like the gym. Discipline's useful for when you actually want to get something done. If you want to grow some muscle, you need discipline, right? You need to know that if you want to lose fat, you need to know that you can't, you know, eat a shitload of junk food and expect it to just go away. It's tricky to learn with food for me because I fixate on that stuff. I didn't get the right kinds of food or enough food when I was little. And when I did, it was usually because I stole it. My parents were very Spartan when it came to raising us, so we learned to exist on our own. We learned to, you know, possibly do the wrong thing, but as kids we were like, I don't give a fuck if it's the right or the wrong thing at this point, I'm just going to do it. So I ended up doing things like stealing money and stealing food and selling cigarettes to other kids at school just to get money to buy a McDonald's milkshake and stuff like that. There's a very grey area when it comes to, you know, fulfilling your own needs. And of course, as a kid, you don't see it as wrong. I wasn't selling cigarettes as an 8-year-old or something. I was in high school. It's horrible. I'm incriminating myself now. But my dad used to leave his cigarettes running around the house. He'd just leave packets of them open and sitting around. I don't know what he was expecting. Maybe us to pick them up or something. But I used to nick them in like tens, like groups of 10 or something like that. I'd stick them in a soap box. And I'd take them to school and I'd sell them to my, friends/acquaintances. And I got pretty lucrative with that business. I was quite chuffed with that. I never smoked it myself, I'm not stupid, but I would take the money and I'd go across the street to the McDonald's, and the things that the other kids were taking for granted, like just, we're just going to the shop to do this. The things they would take for granted. Oh, it's bushfire. Hello, police people. I was buying because I had to, oh God, am I going to be late for work? Sorry, I've just seen cops. There's some kind of a bushfire in the area and they sectioned off the road, which should be good. Firebugs. Firebugs is in people that are bored and set fire to shit in the bush, which is one part of being a part of Australian culture. But you know, I just wanted the normal life. I just wanted whatever everybody else wanted, and these people were just doing these things and taking it for granted, and I had to actually work to get what they got, and they just took it for granted. But it blew my mind. Like these days when I see kids throwing away food like it's nothing. What are they doing? They're just sitting there on their bikes. I don't know. Something's been sectioned off for some reason, I don't know. Sorry, I'm just giving you like two stories at once. But the kids throw it like in, you know, like the cheeseless snack things where it's cheese and a cracker and shit like that. They leave them on the floor, they throw them in the bin. It's still sealed and everything like that, or they just leave it on their desk and they give up, and shit they just take for granted. Bugs the fuck out of me. Because this shit I would have killed for as a kid. We couldn't afford it, we didn't get it. So it just blows my mind. It's like, why are you just so willing to throw these things away? And it comes from not valuing it. If they were disciplined, maybe they'd value it a bit more. Maybe they'd understand why it's not something you can just chuck away. I don't know. Kids have different value system. They're very much in for the immediate gratification, I've noticed. As adults, you look back and say, oh my God, I cannot believe I wasted that. I could do with that now. Yeah, so anyway. Discipline in the gym, it's harder to do, especially when your life gets a bit chaotic. If your life drops out the arse like mine did, you're going to start reevaluating what is actually essential in the gym and in your life in general. What should I keep doing? What's actually going to get me somewhere? I know the first thing I did when I separated from my ex-husband, knowing that he would have wanted me to fail and get fat and let myself go and get depressed because he's a fucking overt narc. First thing I did was sign up to the fucking gym. It was also under the recommendation of my psych, because she said you've got to find a way to get this under control physically, and physical movement will help you, so go sign up to the gym, start doing yoga and weights and shit. I found it was a bit hard. There was a lot of trial and error at the gym because I was unfamiliar with it. Even though I married a PT, it was always instruction directed by him. So when you go in there on your own and you have to set your own routine and find your own way and work out how everything works and your own nutrition and stuff like that, can be a bit daunting. It's okay to be daunting, it's all new. But with routine and tweaking and trial and error, you'll essentially find a way that is stable. And that's how you build your discipline, essentially. I mean, everybody, well, I don't know about everybody, can't generalize like that, but there's a large chunk of people that will throw themselves in the deep end and then fail because they've just taken on too much all at once, thinking it was the right thing to do. Like people that go cold turkey. If you go cold turkey from junk food, you will fail. Unless you're like used to it and you keep doing it regularly and you're like, you can get over the 3-day sugar hump. For me, it's a 3-day sugar hump. It's by the 3rd day, I'm like, it's out my system. I'm like, okay, I can keep going with this. But, you know, someone who's been eating junk food their entire life has not even, you know, and then suddenly, oh, I'm going to the gym. Not only am I going to the gym, I'm going to drink all this water. I'm going to take all these supplements. And I'm going to cut junk out completely. It's like, you're going to fail, you've overdone it. Start with one and build into it, right? You can't have everything all at once, it's an overload. Your body goes, fuck this is too much unfamiliar, I'm giving up. And you'll find yourself sneaking food again, or you'll find yourself slacking off at the gym, or you'll be like, I can't really drink this much fucking water, maybe I overset myself. And then you build a sense of failure in yourself. It's like, I feel like I failed myself, so I can't keep going. I'm just going to go back to my old ways, and you slip back into your old routine, which is not good. But then again, it's a pause in breath, really, isn't it? Because you can always pick it back up again. As you build up discipline, you'll find that it comes in waves anyway. I found that mine did. I could pick some things up on some days, but I had to drop the ball on other days. So eventually you tweak it and refine it until you get to a point where you're actually building something constructively. I've got autism, so my routine system is on point. I have to do things routinely, otherwise I lose my shit and I start being frustrated and overwhelmed. Especially when people start interfering with my routine. I've got my sister coming over soon. She's going to fuck with my food. I know she will. I'm trying not to think about it really. But I've got everything sort of rationed out and structured, and I do all my meal prep and I've got my routine that I like to do, go to the gym, work, and all that stuff. And I know as soon as she turns up, she's like, let's go to a restaurant. I'm like, we're fucking not going to a restaurant, okay? You go to a restaurant, take one of your friends with you. But she'll be wanting to do all these things that would just be out of my routine, and I'll be like, I can't do that. Can you leave it at least to my cheat day or something like that? I want to go now. And she's a bit bossy at times as well, because she's the littlest, so I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to deal with that. She's gonna fuck with my discipline. She's so mean sometimes. She's like littler than me and round, and she's mean, and she's bossy. But she was a good mouthpiece when I was growing up. She was very good at social situations, something I had to learn with discipline, to put myself out there. I used to have her standing in front, and she's short, chunky, shall I say, and feisty, and I never had that. I was like the tall, lanky thing sitting in the background. I had her in front of me talking for me. I just sort of whisper in her ear, and she'd get it done. I'm like, yes. She is my mouthpiece. I trust her. I'll be like, do you want to go get a coffee afterwards or something like that? And she'd be like, oh, we're going to go get a coffee, right? Fuck you guys, we're going. It's like, okay, that's one way to leave a room, but okay. No, she's pretty cool that way. She's got a lot of confidence in her, which I'm a bit jealous of. I had to build confidence gradually through, essentially in the workplace, actually, because you can't leave the classroom without, having certain skill sets, even if they're just, part of your essential metaphorical uniform. In social environments, I'm shit. When it comes to, standing up and talking to people in social environments, I'm crap. But in the classroom, I lead them like an army. It's great. I understand the classroom. That is a format I've grown accustomed to. I've been teaching for 12 years now. If you don't stand up and handle your shit, it goes to chaos. Whereas in social environments, it feels more like it's chaos to start with. And I'm supposed to just deal, not knowing, like the rules and stuff like that, and the double meanings everybody seems to have, where everybody's pretending to be someone else, but they're actually not that person. That's why I tend to shy away from that shit. I'm like, I feel like everyone's lying. It's like, I don't like the lying side of things. It's like people are just, pumping themselves up to appear more appealing to other people, right? Because nobody wants to look like an asshole or a loser. So they fake who they are, essentially. They blow up who they are, essentially. They say, oh, I've got this job and I'm this person, I achieved all this. Yeah. But the reality of the situation is, behind this mask of facade, they're actually just a very insecure, maybe depressed at times person. They don't really have the merit or the weight of what they say they are behind them. Everybody feels insecure, I feel there's got to be. No one is genuinely that confident in themselves, where they just don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck, but at the same time it's more paired with being tired all the time. It's not arrogance, it's not conceit, it's genuinely just being fucking tired. So if I come across as I don't give a fuck, or I'm too confident to feel insecure, it's not confidence, it's tired. She's just so chill, laid back. No, she's fucking tired. I do too much, and I know I do, and I push myself. But, I like to get stuff done. And I like to be busy. I really do like to be busy. I feel... Ooh, come on, guy, turn the corner already. Jesus. There's a semi-trailer trying to get around the corner. But I like being busy. I like project work. I love getting, into strategy of figuring things out and stuff like that. And I do tend to get consumed in projects that I've started. Because I just got to get it done. It drives people nuts. I can sit there for hours fixating on one task. That's part of the autism as well, I think. Hyperfixation. Useful, I thought, because that's how you walk out with degrees and shit. You just stick to it and you just keep going. My brother's the opposite. He's got ADHD. His form of discipline is tricky because you have to chunk that stuff off. And I've got it with my kids at work as well, where they just bounce. They can't sit still long enough to concentrate, and you have to keep realigning what they should be doing, refocusing what they should be doing. Yeah, I barely can sit in a fucking chair. It's like, would you stop wandering around the room, go and sit down and do your job? But it's a bit painful for them, I think, because you're constantly telling them off, so I kind of feel bad for them as well. It's like, you don't ahead and just go and sit down. But that's natural inclination we've got to work with. That's one of the tricky bits of teaching, is to try and get everyone who's got issues like ADHD or dyslexia or stuff like that refocused onto the task without feeling like shit for having these issues. So yeah, no amount of authoritarian violence from my parents is applicable to these situations. So you can't smack a child into doing what you want, really. Plus, it's not my kid, so I wouldn't anyway. Plus, I wouldn't hit a kid anyway. I mean, oh God, why would you do it? They're little, man. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Adults don't know what the fuck they're doing, but we're not allowed to hit them. That's assault. So, what the fuck? Right, what else is there? What have we talked about? Because I do go on tangents. We talked about classrooms. We talked about the gym. Nutrition, maybe. I don't know. We touched on that. What are these number plates? Weird. What else can we use discipline for? Goal setting, I guess. We always go to goal setting. You should be setting achievable goals if you are trying to get anywhere with a growth mindset. There's no point choosing ridiculous goals and just not following through because you think it's, outlandish or it's too hard. If you do have these big goals, yes, of course, they can be segmented down, but you got to, it's cycles within cycles at this point. You've got to... Ooh, red light, sorry. And a guy trying to take my ass off. Would you fuck off? Fucking Hiluxes. They got no depth perception. It's a case of, breaking it down into smaller cycles, essentially, smaller steps. You don't want to take this whole big project on itself. Try and segment things off to achievable lumps of things you can do. That's essentially what I've been giving my brother to do. When he's got this big-ass job to do, I get him, and I do help him, because we help each other. He's my brother, he's awesome. But I'll segment things down, because he'll just look at this and go, this is too fucking overwhelming. And I'll say, all right, so let's just bunch it up into things we can do in the here and now. We'll segment it out over time, and, and this is our checklist of what we need to get done, and yeah. So it's good that we work together, because we sort of, bounce each other off. He's a teacher as well. So when he's looking at these massive projects that he has to do as a high school teacher, I use my natural inclination from things like autism to create a routine which he can follow as well. So we're piling in on that way. He is good that he breaks me out of my routine and my rut of sitting in 8-hour stints of doing one thing over and over again. So it's a good partnership there, I think. He can't sit down for 8 hours. He just cannot. He gets up and wanders. Or he's sitting there chewing pen lids and stuff like that. This is, what is he, 40 odd now? When was he born? 80. So yeah, 42? Fuck, 42. But no, it's a good partnership. So if we need to do, he's doing other people's level 3s at the moment, which is what teachers do if they want to get more... it's training on the job to get a better paycheck, but you take on more responsibilities. But you've got to do this whole portfolio and submit everything to the Department of Education so that they will, tick you off and say you can do all these things. It's evidence that you can and have been doing these things. And you get the pay rise. It's like promotion in the workplace, as opposed to, going back to uni and getting extra training, which is what I did stupidly. What I should have gone and done my level 3. Because I've got all these degrees now, and I don't use them. I use one, which is stupid, and I've got student loans coming out the wazoo. So I went on personal interest. I didn't go to get further in my job. I like the idea of learning further. So yeah, he went that route. So when he's assessing all these portfolios and things for other people, it's overwhelming for him, because these things are 50 pages long. And you have to go through with a rubric and fine-tooth comb, and he needs help breaking off these things into segments which are achievable. I'll say, you're right, you're going to do 2 pages at this time period. We're going to go for a break. You're going to, paint your miniatures or whatever you want to do for an hour, and then we're going to go back to then do another 3 pages or something like that. So you've got to segment that off. And eventually he gets through this pile of 50-page booklets, and he's got several booklets to go, But that was good because we were living together for a while when I separated from my ex-husband, so we could work together. But it's tricky developing discipline because it was something that people need to regulate themselves. You can't have someone sitting there holding your hand the whole time. You've got to figure it out yourself, which is tricky. But it comes with time and it comes with practice. Obviously, you're not going to get it straight off the bat. You know, it's like the Matrix when they jump off the building. Nobody gets it the first time. Nobody. It's absurd. This is a new thing. We're all learning. We're all looking at things that are unfamiliar and out of context and seem alien to us. So you've got to take your time. Don't stress about developing discipline straight away. Bearing in mind the people that are disciplined, if you look at them, they're usually doing things that aren't quite deemed normal. Like, I know I'm not doing normal stuff in the gym. I know I'm not doing normal stuff in my day-to-day life because as soon as my sister turns up, she's going to tell me I'm psychotic and start fucking with my routine. I know that one. I know that. She's been doing it for years. She says I'm anal and antisocial. I'm going, no. I'm autistic. There's a difference. It just comes across that way. I'm not that. It's mild OCD has been diagnosed as. I know that much. But I like things to be organised. And if it's organised, it's like when you're in the army. It's like you look after your kit looks after you, right? You got to be organised. Otherwise, you know, you could be fighting off some fucking, Taliban guy and you reach for your gun and it turns out to be a mop or something. It's ridiculous. You look after your fucking kit, right? Some people are like, it's okay, I'm going to kill him with a mop. And you turn around and you go, you're not fucking John Wick, mate. Sit down. Sit down. No, you failed the army. Go back and retrain. It's crazy. I just prefer to be organised, particularly when I get shit done in a day. I like to get shit done in a day and I like it to be done organised way. And it's just something I've picked up from having a natural disposition to wanting routine and structure or craving it, mixed with trauma, mixed with practice, mixed with, like heavy self-reliance. But it's, you do pick it up with practice. It is achievable to do on your own. You will get there if you want to do it enough. Right, I've got 10 minutes to get to class, so I'm going to have to leave it there, I'm afraid. I'm hoping you have a great day. It is Wednesday. I'm hoping you pick up whatever skills or whatever you want to do, whatever you want to learn. It will take discipline. If this is why you're looking at this podcast, you want to learn how to use discipline or get some insight on discipline. I'm sorry if it went on a tangent. I'm still wondering what that bushfire was back there with all the police escort and stuff like that. So that's going to be interesting on the way home. Turns off my entire house is sectioned off. It's like, oh shit, okay. But I'm hoping you have a great day, guys. Word of advice, don't move to Australia in summer. Everything's on fucking fire. Take it easy, okay? I'll see you tomorrow, okay?